I the a-hole for wanting to tell my husband's sister where he takes her son whenever he's babysitting for her? Hear me out. My husband's sister Nicole had a difficult upbringing. Her parents kicked her out and disowned her and cut financial support off her after she refused to marry a family friend. She instead went to live with her late boyfriend, who passed away shortly after their son was born. My in-laws kept pressuring Nicole to let them meet their grandkid, and they harassed her to the point where she got a restraining order against them, and that's when they stopped. But they, including my husband, have been complaining about what a horrible thing she did and said that she broke the family and robbed them of their grandchild. My husband has contact with Nicole, and he started offering to babysit her son for her after she finally found a new job, and she's been grateful for this. However, he's been doing this ever since he started babysitting his nephew. He'd wait till she dropped his nephew off, then he'd get him into the car and drive to my in-laws' house so they could see him. He'd stay gone and come back 30 minutes before Nicole is expected to arrive. I didn't want to say anything at first, but then I couldn't stand thinking about how betrayed and hurt Nicole would feel if she found out. I told my husband what he's doing is wrong, since his nephew's mom did not consent to him to go to my in-laws' house. But he told me he's doing this for his nephew's sake and told me to shut the heck up and stay out of his family's affairs. This caused an argument between us. I told him if he doesn't stop, then I'd tell Nicole. And he said I would then explain that he didn't think it was fair for Nicole to punish his parents like that and ban them from seeing their grandchild. I told him this is serious, because she has a restraining order against them and our nephew shouldn't be there. I insisted I'd tell her if this doesn't stop, but he said if I do that, I'd cause him to lose his nephew, and called me bitter and cruel for even entertaining the idea. He told me if I do that, then he'll let my in-laws know and they won't be happy with me. He urged me to mind my own business and stop trying to divide a family and condone Nicole's unjustified hatred for his parents. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband is an absolute a-hole who is helping his parents to break the law. If I were you, I'd let Nicole know what is going on immediately and encourage her to call the police next time your husband takes her son to her parents. Let the law deal with them all. This right here, it's not a family matter, it's a legal one. Not sure how old the kid is, but he will say something to his mom one day. I imagine when that happens, the police and the courts will be involved. Your husband is looking at a lot of trouble for doing this. If I were you, I'd seriously reconsider if this is a family you want to be a part of. OP, you're not the a-hole, but the family you married into has a lot of them. You're married to this guy and his family. Tell Nicole and take her hint to get the hell out of this family. Not the a-hole for telling her she deserves to know her son is being entertained by a group of people who despise her. WTF. Opie now knows her husband is perfectly fine with lying to someone's face and pretending to care about them to get what he wants. Is this a person you want to be married to? Why do you imagine you'd be exempt from this if he'd do it to his own sister? He doesn't seem to have a good opinion of women making their own choices. How would he treat you if your ideas differed from his? OP, tell Nicole and think long and hard about your own marriage. Whether or not he'd be mad is just the tip of the iceberg. What the actual hell is wrong with your husband and his family? Not the a-hole, but it took you far too long to realize what's right here. You need to tell Nicole immediately. You also need to take a long, hard look at the type of person your husband really is. This, Opie needs to tell Nicole immediately. And then, Opie needs to dump her sorry husband and his entire family, except Nicole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my mom access to my money? My uncle and my mom have been arguing over this and I feel terrible. I don't know what to think. So my mom let me get anything under $25 to Easter given us on Amazon. I got a small mini ATM of sorts. It has a 4-digit passcode and makes noise when someone attempts to open it, and even louder if you fail. Plus, it automatically sucks in your money like an ATM would. I had been looking at this for a while, saving up my allowance and planning to get it. Since it was under the price range, so I asked and she got it for me. It came in yesterday and I put the batteries in, set the code and already put the money I had in it. I get a $10 allowance, and if I do certain tasks, I get an extra $10 to $20, which is only about $10 right now. My mom asked for the passcode, which frankly I thought was a joke, so I told her a fake one. I just thought it was her messing with me and trying to get me to laugh. She came home today and did her inspection of my room. I have been spending the past few days working on the rest of the house, so I haven't gotten a chance to. I didn't think she would try anything, so I continued making myself some sandwiches for late brunch. It was 10 a.m. I couldn't care less. Then I heard the noise it made when you failed the passcode. I tested it night prior just in case, and rushed to my room. What I see is my mom trying to get into it, then turned to me and glared. "You told me the passcode was 1234. Why isn't it working?" I was confused and taken aback. Like, who expects this from their mom? I got upset as well and yelled at her to get the heck out of my room and away from my money. She left in a huff, and when my uncle came home, he got his ear talked, practically yelled, "All for it." He says I shouldn't have lied, but I didn't have to give her the passcode. Now those two are arguing and I feel really bad for causing it. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole at all. Your mother is pissed off at you because she couldn't break into what amounts to your piggy bank and steal back your allowance. That's next level a-holery. She wouldn't even be stealing it back. It's my uncle who pays me and started my whole allowance anyways, not her. So not stealing it back, just stealing it. Kid, you gobsmacked me. My jaw just hit my damn desk. There are no words I can actually say that won't get me thrown off the sub except, your mother is Queen A-hole of Turd Mountain. May no one ever rise to take her place. It doesn't get lower than stealing money from your child that other people have given them for their own daily spending. Not A-hole. The real question is why your mom is trying to steal your money. She has a bad, persistent habit of sticky fingers, and I've normally relented in the past to save my ears from her screeching. Not A-hole, have to say better check your credit score with your social security number. Good job on the save. Wow. Trust nobody with your money. Period. By the way, tell her it's Nanya business. Luckily, I'm not old enough to have my own credit card or anything yet. Hence why I went with a piggy bank / money holder with a passcode. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for running away? My 20 female used to live with my mom, stepdad, and stepsister was the same age as me. When my mom married my stepdad and moved them in when I was 12, from the get-go, it was obvious that there was something wrong with stepsister. I won't even attempt to speculate a diagnosis, but she got really clingy, would throw tantrums, and pee herself if she didn't get her way. Also, she couldn't regulate her voice. It would just blurt whatever she was thinking and touch or take whatever she wanted. Basically, she has zero self-control or awareness. I talked with my parents about getting her into therapy and getting her a diagnosis, and I was scolded and grounded for bullying her, because that counted as bullying for them, so I never brought it up again. But she latched onto me and it ruined my life. Refused her own room, was put in every one of my classes. If I talked with someone else, she would throw a tantrum and pee herself at school, and I would end up having to take care of her. If I was invited somewhere and she wasn't, I wasn't allowed to go. The only thing I had was swim team because the coach took pity on me and allowed her to join, so I could participate. When I was a junior, I turned 18 and got access to some money left to me by my dad and grandparents. That's when I made a plan. I got a P.O. box and didn't tell the parents. They told me that I will be going to the same college as my sister and I didn't argue, and used the P.O. box to apply to other colleges. I got into the farthest one I could get into. Last summer after graduation, I bailed in the middle of the night. I only took sentimental things and left everything including my phone. I left a letter and another with a neighbor so they wouldn't file a missing persons report. It has been almost a year and I just checked up on them, stalked them online for the first time. Apparently my stepsister is committed and the parents are no longer living together. And while I feel vindicated when it comes to the parents, I feel like an a-hole towards stepsister. I know that wasn't her fault. And with me there, she could live more or less normally. Now she's in a facility and all her support system vanished. So am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents failed both of you. It sounds like running was the only solution. I hope you're doing better now. This. And OP, the situation was entirely of your parents' making. They allowed your stepsister to use you like a security blanket and decided not to get her any therapy to cope without you and instead built her entire mental health on you staying with her 24/7. I hope they learned a lesson from this and that your stepsister is finally getting the help she needs. I legit wonder what the hell her parents expected of her for the rest of her life. They wanted her to share college with stepsister. Was OP also expected to share a boyfriend or spouse with stepsister? And so on and so forth. The parents really failed both of their children. At least OP got to escape. I hadn't even thought of that. But if stepsister broke down just from OP talking to others, what would happen if OP was in a relationship? Not stay home. First, the idea of running away from home when you're a legal adult is absurd. You didn't run away, you moved out. Now on to the other stuff. It was the responsibility for stepfather to protect his daughter and ensure she was properly taken care of. He failed his duty as a father. It's also the responsibility of your mother to protect you. To that end, she should have recognized that your stepsister had a problem. It was interfering with your own growth and development with her clinginess and keeping you out of school activities because she refused to allow to do anything without her. Your mother should have insisted to her husband that your stepsister got proper care. They both failed their children. They lost you, forced your stepsister to be committed so she has no one, and destroyed their marriage. This heap of failure belongs to them, not you. You have no legal or moral responsibility to your stepsister. Although perhaps it might be helpful if you had some contact with her, but I would talk to her caregivers first. It might be nice if you could write letters to her or visit her occasionally, or perhaps that would exacerbate her clinginess. It depends on where she is in therapy. As I said, talk to her caregivers and see if such contact would be helpful and appropriate. But of course, whether you choose to have contact with your stepsister at all is entirely up to you. As I said, you have no legal or moral obligation to have any contact with her. I don't think it's a good idea to advise a stalking victim to re-establish contact with a person who has fixated on them. The stepsister is where she needs to be. Any type of contact, including pity, will cause a resurgence of interest. Source: been there, done that. Let the professionals handle it. Not stay home. And it's suspicious that your stepsister got committed after you moved. You are adult in college, so I wouldn't call it running away. It seems like you were forcibly assigned to be the caretaker of stepsister, and that was basically the only reason why your stepdad and your mother were together. You did nothing wrong, you just protected yourself and your future from being forced to be your stepsister's lifelong caretaker. Good for you, OP. May you recover the life that you were forced to give up. What I got from a neighbor is that she couldn't take it when I walked away that they had to get her committed. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for sleeping in a guest room and locking the door after my boyfriend kept tampering with my alarm and causing me to miss work? My boyfriend 30 is a prankster by nature. You'll always find him laughing about anything and pulling pranks on everyone. He broke his arm 2 weeks ago because of a prank, and as a result, he'd taken time off work and is home all day. Unlike me, as I work long hours in a very stressful job. He started complaining about feeling lonely and asking me to skip work so I could stay home with him, but I refused. He started tampering with my alarm by waiting till I fall asleep, then take my phone and mess with my phone clock, causing me to wake up an hour later and missing a day of work. I'm a heavy sleeper and I need my phone alarm to wake up. He'd laugh at my reaction every time, then ask, "So, what are we doing today?" It affected my job. And when I learned that it cost me a potential raise because my boss was unhappy with me, I just couldn't stand it and had a fight with my boyfriend. I moved a mattress and my stuff to the guest room and started sleeping there while the doors locked. He couldn't believe it and pitched a hissy fit about how distant I am when he needs me near. I told him until he stops tampering with my alarm and causing me to miss work, I'll just stay in the guest room for now. He said I really overreacted, and this was just some teasing/pranking that I'd taken too seriously, but I refused to negotiate it. He begged that I move back, but I refused and told him he's being irresponsible and whiny over me having to work. He's fuming over this and been saying I'm making his recovery worse. Am I the a-hole? Not stay home, but you need to break up with this ridiculous person. He's endangered his own employment due to his pranks, and now is actively sabotaging your career. He's 30 damn years old. This is unacceptable behavior. Do you really want this person to be your partner in life? This is not the first time I've seen posts about people asking their significant other to just miss work or making them late on purpose. But WTF? The second my significant other or anyone else did that, they would be out of my life. This is livelihood. What kind of entitlement does this person come from to demand it for someone to miss work? Or does the rest of the world live in some magical universe where you can just skip work whenever you feel like it? So weird. Not stay home and get rid of this parasite OP. Literally, a rock would make a better partner. My boyfriend 30 is a prankster by nature. You mean a-hole? All pranksters are a-holes by nature. Some of them just hit the joke right sometimes and not do too damaging pranks, so they're not be called out for being a-holes. But make no mistake that they are a-holes by nature. They feed off people's anxiety and misery. It's an abuse tactic. Get them to lose their job and the power balance changes. In this situation, OP is not a-hole at all. You have two people. And it's clearly written here. He broke his arm 2 weeks ago because of a prank, and as a result, he'd taken time off work and is home all day. And like me, as I work long hours in a very stressful job. OP takes her work seriously, like me, and her boyfriend is, as the saying, treats work like a fart in the wind. BF is bored, stuck at home, so he wants to be entertained. Boyfriend could have asked something like, "Hey, do you think you could take a couple vacation days and let's go do something?" Instead, he pranks her assuming that she'll be super happy to miss work, like he would. I'm like OP and you, and would be pissed off if my partner played this game with me. OP's not there to keep her boyfriend entertained, but he seems to think so. That's not a prank, that is bullying. Dump him, you deserve better. Not the a-hole, of course. Sadists also hide their sadism under the guise of pranks.
Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I refuse to be their practice kid anymore? I, 18 male, am the oldest of my parents' 5 children. There's me, my brother 13 male, sister 12 female, sister 10 female, and brother 7 male. My parents never treated me that great, and the older I got, the worse it seemed to get. But I noticed as my siblings got older, it was different, and they were night and day different with me. I wasn't allowed to spend a lot of time with friends as a kid. My parents said there was no way they'd do all that, and I should be home. But my siblings, from age 5, could go to friends' houses, and from age 4 if the friend lived in our neighborhood. When I asked my parents about it, both times, they told me that I was their practice, and they didn't want all their kids to whine in their face about missing out. My parents had the rule with me that you eat everything off your plate, or it either gets saved for next time, or you don't get to leave the table. When I say everything, I mean clear your plate everything. So if I was full and left, say, 3 pieces or something, I was forced to stay and finish, or they'd be taken aside and served to me next time. Not with my siblings. And when I asked my parents about that, they said they learned from me. The next thing was grades. My parents were always super mad and angry when I got less than A's. Even if it was a B and everyone in my class got a B because the test was especially hard, it didn't change my parents' stance. I was grounded for B's. I was forced to do extra chores for a month. I was left out of stuff. But my siblings could get C's and D's, and it didn't change anything. This was another thing I brought up to my parents, and by that point, they were tired of me asking why things were different. They told me I was their practice run, and they learned from things with me. And I know people learn from parenting as they go. But they learned with me and gave the benefits to my siblings. I saw none. They were never nicer or let up on me. They didn't apologize for being hard on me or for yelling at me almost all the time. Nothing like that happened, and there are multiple other ways they were different between me and my siblings. Expectations for chores were way higher with me, always. Birthday and Christmas gifts were way different, and noticeably so, to make both sides of the family question what they gave me, because it seemed so little compared to my younger siblings. And it wasn't that mine were more expensive, it was always the opposite. There were also really strict times set for me. I wasn't allowed out past 4 p.m. during summer, even in my teens. I wasn't allowed to attend certain birthday parties. Just so much stuff. My parents got annoyed over a year ago when my guidance counselor asked about any financial help I'd get with college and wanted to know if they had saved for me or anything. The way they reacted just ticked me off, and I know they're saving for my siblings, so that was when I knew I was done. I kept my head down for a year, and I left. I graduated last month, and I didn't let my parents come. My siblings weren't there either, but my parents expected tickets, and instead of claiming some for them, I got them for my grandparents instead. My parents were angry and confronted me about it, but I had already moved out of their house, and I live with my paternal grandparents right now. I told my parents I was done being their practice kid, and I refused to keep it up anymore. I said they can screw up with my siblings and learn to live with it, because I'm not here to be a punching bag while they get the best versions. My parents accused me of all kinds of things, called me all kinds of things, but I'm truly so done. Does that make me the a-hole, especially where my siblings are involved? That's why I'm asking here. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're a kid, and you've been scapegoated by your parents for a long time. I can't imagine how much it would hurt to have such frequent reminders that your parents suck. You reached a breaking point, and breaking points are rarely graceful or pretty. Focus on you, get yourself in a good headspace and work on your future. Find supports outside your family and live your best life. I'm rooting for you. Nope, not the a-hole, and it's good you moved out of that toxic environment. I truly don't understand why they didn't eventually let up on you and tell you something positive. Certainly not fair, and in my opinion, mentally abusive. Hope your grandparents are doing right by you and that you get yourself on firm footing, setting up your future. My grandparents are doing everything they can to support me. The fact they were always there to advocate for me means a lot. Not the a-hole. I get being the practice kid, or in my case, the guinea pig as my dad liked to say, but once they realize one thing isn't working and they need to adjust, that means they need to adjust with you. Also not continue down the same path with you and a different one for your siblings. I'm glad you have somewhere else to live. What do your grandparents think of the situation? My grandparents are glad I'm away from my parents. Neither set of grandparents ever believed I deserved the way I was treated. And they all think my parents are awful for being so hard on me and blatantly treating me as less than. It was the cause of several fights when I was a kid. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ranting via email to my dad about his wife not being my angel or savior? My mom died when I, 18 male, was a kid. My dad remarried 3 years after her death. He was weird about his wife, Beth, always. He'd call her our angel and savior. He talked about her like we both fell in love with her and both chose her. Before they had kids together, he called her the best mom he ever knew and the best wife. I never called this woman my mom or even my stepmom. The whole thing bugged me, so Beth never left being Dad's wife in my brain. She loved hearing Dad say it, and she always had this negative energy when I didn't say those things too. There were times Beth tried to force hugs on me when I had stayed silent about what Dad was saying, or if I expressed anything against the use of our. She forced hugs on me in general too, but it was worse when I didn't agree with my dad. My dad never noticed. He was so cocky talking for the two of us that he never even realized I didn't speak up to agree, or that I never said those things. Beth did try to be those things, and she really tried hard to earn the mom title from me. She told me that she would never stop, ever. That she knew she could make me love her and wear me down eventually. I don't think she was evil about it or even trying to be malicious. I think in her way, she thought she was being extra kind and loving. But I hated it. The one time she really annoyed me by saying it, I told her she would never be as good as my mom in my eyes, so she should stop trying. She never told Dad, but she was upset, and I never apologized. I just stayed mad that she kept trying. Anyway, back to my point. My dad talked to me before graduation about what I'd say about Beth, and he told me he had written something that he'd like me to say. I told him I knew what I'd say and didn't need anyone's help. Dad was like, cool. And his response made me think even then that he expected me to gush about Beth, but I didn't mention her at all. Instead, after briefly thanking Dad, I gushed about Mom, and I talked about my love for her and the amazing mom she had been. Everyone but my dad and Beth were like, "Oh, she'd be so proud," and "That's lovely." My dad was pissed, and Beth looked like she was trying not to sob from heartbreak. She actually did break down and leave for an hour and came back to talk of Mom, which made her quiet the rest of the party. Afterward, my dad left me like 20 voice messages about my lack of praising Beth and how she deserved way better, and why did I tell him I had my thanks for her written already? I never said that. Never. That was how he took what I said. But I didn't want to call Dad and be accused of being cruel to Beth for saying the things I knew I would where she could hear. So I ranted via email about how Beth's not my angel or savior, and how that was all Dad's BS and that I never ever loved or chose Beth. I said she didn't better my life. She wasn't better than my mom, that I would choose being alone over Beth. I then told Dad he never had any right to speak for me like that, and screw him for that too. And I told him his words about her being the best mom ever before she even was one. Felt like he was crapping on Mom. I must have written like 4,000 words before I finished. My dad wasn't the only person to read it. Beth saw and read it too. This enraged Dad, and he demanded I apologize to Beth and make it up to her. But I haven't, and I don't see it happening either. My dad realizes this too, because he asked when I became such a bastard and said I wasn't raised to be an a-hole. I feel like maybe I am an a-hole for how I have refused to accept Beth, and because I didn't even thank her at my graduation. I'm not sure I care really, but I want to hear the judgment of people who don't know us and just see the situation here. Of course, I can't write everything from the time I met her to now, because that'd take forever. But I hope this is enough info to decide. Am I the a-hole? That she knew she could make me love her and wear me down eventually. Ouch, that's normally a line used by abusers, not the a-hole. It always bothered me. That's one way I knew it wasn't all my dad, and she was equally as bad in wanting that. There is so much to unpack there. It really irritates me when people, mostly the parents, refuse to accept that there is a lot of room between being completely uninvolved with stepkids and trying to replace their parent. I wish both of them would have realized she could have been a trusted, valued, and even loved member of your family without trying to replace your mom. The cool thing about love is it's infinite. It's not like loving your mom left less room in your heart for other trusted adults. You should have been taught that it's okay to love both, and not disrespect to your mom to welcome Beth into your heart, nor disrespectful to Beth to continue talking about and loving or honoring your mom. All of that was on the adults in your life to get right. I'm sorry that they didn't. The thing is, a part of me always knew it wasn't outright disrespectful to Mom. But the way Dad talked it very much felt like Beth was going to be seen and treated as the better version of Mom. So any fondness I might have developed never had room to grow, because I never wanted it to be assumed Beth was better. It got to a point where I didn't want to like or even care about Beth even a little. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I reject naming my baby after my fiancé's dying sister? I'm 30 female, pregnant with our first. My fiancé, 31 male, and I have been planning to get married for a while now and settled on next year. The reason for this is very sad, and I'm not blaming her at all for this, but his sister has cancer. Every time we planned for something, she would get sicker, and we put the plans on hold. We decided on next year because then we'll be together 10 years, and thought it would be cute to do it on our anniversary. His sister also seemed to start getting better, and we were so happy. But as it turns out, she's not getting better, and we got the surprise of a lifetime getting the news that we're pregnant. My fiancé was so excited he told his parents. They live with his sister in another country. We found out before we got the news about how bad things are going for her. But since we found out, his mother, and him as well, have been dropping hints that we name the baby after his sister. They've already given me some options if it's a boy or a girl. Luckily, not naming the child her name directly, but they suggest variations of it. And I don't want to. I haven't liked a single name they've proposed. I don't want to be the witch now and say, no, go screw yourself, while everyone is waiting for her to pass, but I also want this to stop. We don't even know the gender yet, and I don't want my child to be a reminder of an aunt they'll never meet if she passes before my due date. So, would I be the a-hole if I don't name my baby after her? And with that, tell them now while they're grieving? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Kids shouldn't be born with jobs or burdens. Mother-in-law, I appreciate the input, but we are focused on bringing a healthy baby into the world. We'll decide on a name when the time is right for us. You don't need to tell her now or ever that you don't want to use sister-in-law's name or any variation of it. Mother-in-law can find out along with everyone else once you finalize the documentation. Now you have to hope that fiancé doesn't buckle under the pressure. Ugh, thanks, I love that message. If a message of hers pops up again today, I'm copy and pasting. If you've ever met someone who is named after a dead relative, you may have noticed how it permeates their existence. The kid or the parent will often say upon or soon after meeting them, X was my uncle's name, or we named him after my brother who died young. It's quite sad. That's also why this is so wild for me. My fiancé was named after a dead uncle that he never met, and he changed it when he turned 18 because he hated it and everyone knew that. And now he wants to do this to his own child. I understand the grief, but I wish he'll just relax. Baby isn't here for a while. No a-holes here. These folks are anticipating a painful loss and are trying to find ways to cope. I personally find the gesture beautiful, but it's not my kid. At the same time, you both have to like the names. It can't just be one of you. Would you concede to a middle name for the child after the aunt, or some other variation? That'd be a good compromise. I think everyone should consider something like that. I'll be open to middle name, but I'm afraid his mother would keep naming the child that and not respecting the first name. At that point, that's not fair to you at all. I think they're kind of blinded by grief right now, but that's not an excuse to try to force your will on others. It's a terrible situation, I'm sure, and I'm sorry for everyone involved. Gently push back and keep firm in the middle name. They'll hopefully come around when things settle. If mom changes the name once the child is born, and is a girl, you need to enlist hubby to correct her and put a stop to it. I'll definitely try. It's a little bit difficult at the moment with everything. But I do hope the sister is alive once the baby gets here. I know she'll also be against it. She named her kids the craziest of names going against the family name thing. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother's girlfriend be in our wedding family photo? I, 28 male, recently got married. Everything went well overall, but there was a bit of drama involving my brother, 26 male, and his current girlfriend, 22. Basically, my brother has a new girlfriend like every month. I'm not exaggerating. He has never had a relationship that lasted longer than 2 to 3 months, and we've all just kind of gotten used to it. It's kind of a family joke, actually. So when it came time to take our official family wedding photos, I pulled him aside and politely asked if his girlfriend could sit out of that specific photo. They had been together for 2 months. We included her in the casual shots, but for the formal family portrait that's going to be framed and hung in our home, I just didn't want to include someone who we probably won't even see again in a month in our family picture that will stay forever. He got really upset and said I was being disrespectful to him and his relationship. He said I'm acting like his relationships don't matter. My dad came and convinced him for a moment to take the photo without her, but they left the wedding early after taking the photo without her. Now he's barely talking to any of us. Worst thing is, my mom is on his side and said I should have included her, and that I can't know if their relationship is going to last or not. She said that once my wife and I were only 2 months into dating, and look where we are now. Now both my brother and my mom are mad at me. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I have nothing against her personally. She seems nice, but I know my brother. I don't think he takes relationships seriously. He had more girlfriends last year than I've had in my lifetime, LOL. Not the a-hole. If I were the girlfriend, I would have happily not be in those pictures. That would have been too awkward. I would have insisted I not be in the photo. I went to a family wedding with my boyfriend of a year. I stayed away from the family photos. They insisted I was in them, but I didn't want to be. It worked out because we're married now, but we weren't together long enough for me to feel comfortable in family photos. That photo hangs in his mom's living room and his brother's girlfriend is in the picture. She's been out of the picture for 7 years. Not the a-hole. I've told this story a few times on Reddit, but when I was 20, I had been barely dating a guy for a month. We had been friends a bit before that, and he was my first real boyfriend, so even though it was too soon, I went as his date for his dad's wedding. His whole family took a shine to me over those 2 days and refused to take the big group family photo without me. Like I was standing back saying no, and they were all chanting at me to get the photo. So I eventually relented. Dead center next to my then boyfriend, who was right next to his dad, the groom. We broke up horrendously dramatically a few months later. Turns out he has an issue with being truthful about anything. Anyhow, a few years later, I heard through the grapevine they put a sticker of our college mascot over my face on the framed pictures they had in their house lol. Do not get in the family photos until you are certain marriage is going to happen. Am I the a-hole for not saving half-siblings I have no relationship with from foster care? My parents' marriage broke down 11 years ago. I, now 25 male, didn't see my dad once the marriage ended. He reached out a couple of times, but I told him I would never play happy families with him and the woman he cheated with, so he left me alone. There were times members of my extended family encouraged me to change my stance. Some even praised his affair partner and said I'd like her. I actually dropped the rope with many relatives who were pushing for this. There were others who didn't push or backed off when I said no, but they'd bring up dad occasionally. I knew he had other kids, never felt a need to meet them. Last year, my dad and his wife were involved in an accident. She died immediately, and he died a week later. Their kids were with our shared grandparents, but my grandpa has a criminal record, and the kids weren't allowed to stay with them. My aunts and uncles didn't step up. Everyone expected me and my wife to step up instead. Since we're married and both have stable jobs and we're young, it was seen as the perfect solution. They passed my name along to the caseworker and I was contacted once. I said no, which was accepted. There was backlash from relatives. I blocked many of them. It died down for a while, but last month they learned the kids were in and out of different homes and had been separated twice in the months they've been in foster care. They visit the kids, which is how they learned all this, but it made them angry with me, even though I have aunts and uncles who never even tried to take them to the best of my knowledge. So I don't feel bad. A lot of dad's family think I should feel bad. They say I should have saved the kids from foster care. I don't believe so, and my wife agrees. But after blocking in so many different places and seeing how worked up they are, I wanted to ask online, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like you didn't have a relationship with your father and never even met these kids. You have no obligation to take them in, which is a huge life-changing event. That's right. I never met them nor had any contact with them. I have no idea the ages of these kids even, or if they're boys, girls, or what. We're literal strangers. So the people who know these kids, and who had a good enough relationship with their parents to push for you to connect, are refusing to take the kids in? That sounds sketchy to me. Their circus, they're monkeys, not yours. Not the a-hole. Why aren't their mother's family taking care of them? I don't know the answer to this one. I don't care enough to ask. You have no obligation to take this on. Having said that, the system sucks. And unless they end up in a perfect scenario, their lives could be really messed up because none of their family members wanted the responsibility of raising them. I don't think you're an a-hole, but I do feel bad for the kids. Foster care is no joke. I agree that bad things could happen, which is why their actual family members should step up since they're so upset by everything. I was never these kids' family. We never met or had a relationship. I know nothing about them even, but they do know our aunts and uncles. You are doing for them exactly what your dad did when he left you and your mom. Nothing. Nobody has any business volunteering you for anything you didn't sign up for. Exactly this, not his burden nor his responsibility. His deadbeat dad and side chick should have made plans for their kids in case something happened to them, like a reasonably responsible person would do. Just one final failing of this father to add to the seemingly long list of parenting fails. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take classes to help me take care of my autistic stepbrother? My mom's husband has 2 kids. My stepbrother Jake is 9 and my stepsister Ella is 7. My mom and her husband have been together for 5 years and married for 2. 3 years ago, my mom joined her husband and Ella in classes to learn how to care for people on the spectrum. It's supposed to cover a bunch of stuff and educate on having family members on the spectrum, so it wasn't just about caregiving. I, 17 male, was literally dragged along but didn't take them seriously and never passed the classes. For one, I didn't want to be set up as a babysitter for Jake and Ella. The other thing was, I resented all the changes we had to make for my mom's husband and kids to move in that accommodated Jake. My mom's husband said they wouldn't move in together if I didn't take the classes, which was also what I was hoping for. Clearly that didn't work. And now they lost their regular babysitter who could take care of Jake, so the pressure is on me to take the classes and pass this time. I'm refusing, and I offered to live with a family member if they weren't okay with my decision. Mom said no, and she's not pushing me away. I told her she needed to let this go then. Her husband said I'm being an a-hole to Jake and he deserves better. I told him I already accommodated a lot for Jake, and it should be my choice whether I step up to be a fit babysitter or not. My mom begged me to reconsider, and she told me the babysitting will be off the table. But to pass them to show I want to learn how to interact with Jake better. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Not your kids, not your problem. Exactly. OP shouldn't be pressured into parenting someone else's kids, especially when they've already done more than enough. They deserve to have boundaries without being guilt-tripped for it. It's on them to find a babysitter or caretaker, not drag an OP any more than he already has, and that stepdad is an a-hole, period. Wow, your stepdad is an a-hole. Hey, I won't move in with you unless your son promises to take care of my child for free. Not the a-hole, bud. Good luck. You're right. And mom isn't a hero either. We won't move in together until you pass the classes. Proceeds to move him in, as you said. That makes this, you only have to pass the classes to prove you want to interact with Jake. Be a blatant, humongous lie. It's pretty obvious that if OP did pass the classes, the next thing out of her mouth would have been, "You're qualified. You get no choice." Poor OP, honestly. Not the a-hole. The real issue here is that even if these classes provide valuable life skills, once you take the class and pass, mom and stepdad will want you to babysit, regardless of your mom saying it's off the table. Yeah, 'cause nothing says totally optional, like emotional blackmail and an empty promise wrapped in guilt sprinkles. Take the class, but don't you dare use it, or we'll guilt trip you for life anyway. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that, since she's the favorite, she'll be the one taking care of our mom when she's old? I'm 21 female and my sister is 18. I've always felt like our mom favors her, even if she doesn't say it directly. I study out of town and only come home a few days a week. When I'm gone, my sister uses my stuff without asking. It's happened so many times that I've stopped leaving anything valuable at home. Recently, an aunt sent me a pair of sneakers I really liked. My mom said she couldn't find them, and then my sister showed up wearing them. I asked her to take them off. She refused, we argued, and my mom's only response was something like, "So what? It's not like you're gonna eat them." That same night, my sister started provoking me. She said things like, "Nobody loves you," and called me a freeloader. I was doing the dishes, and when I finished, she came and dropped off her dirty plate, just to say, "You act like it doesn't hurt, but I know it does." I snapped. I told her that if she enjoys being the favorite so much, she better enjoy everything that comes with it, because when mom gets old, she'll be the one changing her diapers and dealing with everything, and I won't help at all. She went silent and locked herself in her room crying. Later, my mom asked me to tell her I was just joking because she's stressed about her national standardized tests. I said no, I meant what I said. My mom got angry, called me ungrateful, said she raised me for nothing, and now she's telling my aunts that I came home just to ruin her peace. So, am I overreacting? Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. My mom took care of her parents forever, but once she found out they were giving all the valuables to my uncle in their wills, my mom decided to take a step back. Since the favorite was basically getting everything, mom said he could start earning it. When grandpa's dementia got to the point of not allowing him to live alone, mom called my uncle and said come get him. That favoritism crap leaves scars. Nobody should grow up feeling less than one of their siblings. Your mom and sister are both a-holes. Not the a-hole for saying it, but stand your ground on it. Oh, and tell your aunt to mail stuff to your school address, not your parents' place. And if you're just coming home to ruin her peace, stop coming home. Go live life and enjoy it. See them when you absolutely must. I'll remember that, and when I leave and she wants to see me, that's what I'll answer. I don't want to ruin your peace. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my half-sister because she complains that my tattoo only represents my mom and not hers? I, 22 male, lost my mom when I was 5. My parents had a complicated relationship, and I believe my dad was with his present wife before my mom died. If not, he moved on very fast because my half-sister, 16 female, was born less than a year after my mom died. I was 6. My relationship with my half-sister's mom was never a close one. I resented her and my dad for making things move so fast, and I resented her attempts to parent me, mostly times when she challenged me on why I denied she was my mom too, or when she put a limit on how many photos of my mom I could have in my room at any one time. She accused me of keeping them to hurt her, which wasn't true, but she felt hurt seeing them and realizing I kept them close. Dad and I drifted apart entirely. He knew how I felt and didn't want to face it, and I was still so mad at him for turning my world upside down after Mom's death had already done it. My half-sister and I had a decent relationship despite all that. We were never super close, but we were okay. When I was 16, my half-sister's mom was diagnosed with a pretty awful neurological disease, a terminal one. She's declined a lot over the years. I've tried to be supportive of my half-sister, but I know she has some resentment toward me because I have not helped care for her mom. And once I moved out, I cut ties with my dad and her mom, but kept in touch with her. Last year, I got a tattoo. I'd always wanted one that honored Mom, so I got an owl bear because I remember my mom being wise and loving. Her name's also included, along with a small heart. My half-sister has seen it on social media a little, on my page and the tattoo artist's page. When she first saw the fully healed tattoo, she asked me about it and asked why I just had my mom and not both mine and hers. She told me her mom raised me longer than my mom did and that her mom was dying. I explained that my relationship with her mom wasn't a good one, and she was never my mom. My half-sister didn't like my answer and pushed against it repeatedly and brought it up repeatedly. It reached the stage last month where I was tired of the fight and so close to telling her I really don't care about her mom's feelings or what's going on with her. I knew, given everything, that would be too far, so I started to ignore her. She refused to drop it and ignored my boundaries and attempts to change the subject. When she realized I was ignoring her, she started calling me names and asking how I can be such a loveless jerk. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Having said that, she's a kid and going through a difficult time. Everything you're doing is right, and while she is wrong, it's understandable. I know, and that's why I stepped back before I said something that would be more hurtful. She doesn't need to hear me say how I feel about her mom. Not the a-hole. Sorry about your loss. And sorry your dad is such an a-hole. You deserve better. Stay away from them and find your peace. Thank you. I miss her a lot still, but I know she'd want me to be happy and I am. My life is pretty good right now, despite everything. This may be harsh, but perhaps it will help her understand your point of view. Ask her, right now while her mom is actively dying, how she would feel if dad brought another woman into the home so soon after she passes and a new kid was born. Would new woman be her mother? She should get the point. I understand dumping that on a teen going through her parents' death is really cold, but that's the point. That's what they have all done to you for over a decade. And sometimes they're selfish and entitled people that cannot understand someone else unless and until it finally happens to them. Last story. Am I the a-hole for moving into a studio apartment away from my mother-in-law who moved in? Long story short, my boyfriend's mom is poor and had to move into my boyfriend's and my apartment last month because my boyfriend's brother, who lived with her, got them both evicted. He stole her car, wrecked it into their apartment, and almost killed someone. He's currently in rehab. Before she moved in, I sat down with my boyfriend and laid out the requirements for her living here. She must cut off contact with his brother for his own good and never invite him over, as I'm afraid of him retaliating at our apartment and getting us evicted too. She should also stop enabling him with a constant safety net to continue his drug use. I know that sounds harsh, but it was the only way to actually force him to get help. This has been an almost decade-long battle of her enabling him, and he's not getting any better. My boyfriend agreed to this, and she agreed. Cut to 2 weeks in, I come home from work. My boyfriend and she are laughing about how they took his brother to Golden Corral when I was gone, and he was so high he was nodding off in the food. I was so upset that not only did she break the cardinal rule I set for her, but that my boyfriend went along with it too. I told him I felt betrayed, and that he just set a precedent for her that she can do whatever she wants now, because any rule set isn't actually going to be enforced, clearly, by his example. He told me he did it because he thought it was too harsh after the fact, without telling me he had changed his mind, and thereby went against our agreement. I otherwise wouldn't have let her live here rent-free. My boyfriend said putting her on the street was too harsh of a punishment for breaking the rules. But isn't that the point? Now she's telling us we need to do her chores when we pay the rent, because she doesn't want to do them, knowing he won't enforce anything or kick her out because he ultimately can't face the guilt of doing so. He has attachment issues with her and a heavy guilt complex. Our apartment lease is up in a couple of months, and now that we're moving, she asked us, so where are we moving to? Fully expecting a free ride and free rent at our next place. I was so dumbfounded because she was only supposed to be here until she got housing, but low-income housing waiting lists can be months to years long. I don't want to live with her anymore because she walks all over us and causes tension between my boyfriend and me. He will never put her on the street because he's controlled by his guilt. When I ask what he plans to do, he said he isn't taking her to our next place, but that would ultimately leave her on the street. And I know deep down, even if we initially move without her, she'll be back in a week or two because he'll feel guilty. So I want to move into a studio apartment now, knowing that I don't believe he's going to let her go, and I've voiced this as a real possibility to him, but I'm being framed as trying to dismantle our relationship. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Don't sign a lease with him again. His word about how he'll handle his mother is worth less than nothing. She'll be back. This. OP, you are dating him, half the relationship, you are on half the lease, and paying half the rent. You are not being treated like your opinions, resources, and money count. You are half the relationship, but not half the importance. He didn't ask what do you feel about the plans. He made a decision with his mom and told you what was happening. He's disregarded what you say, want, and how you feel. He's assuming that what he says goes, you will follow orders and your resources, and money are his to dispose of as he wishes. Do you want to continue like that? Not the a-hole. You're not only showing some self-respect, you're saving yourself from the mess that is coming. My question to OP is, why is he still your boyfriend? He should be your ex by now. She's upset the mother is enabling the brother, and that boyfriend is enabling the mother. Meanwhile, she's enabling the boyfriend, and by the transitive property, also enabling all of them as well.